because my oldest daughter, she's in high school, and they're not required to wear masks, but she does because she feels safer that way. Yeah. And yet she still got the bug that's going on in school.
Oh my!
And then they're required to carry it in the middle school. And my middle school students also got the same bug.
Oh my!
All right. I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Call this meeting to order. Michelle, can you please call roll?
Yes, Mr. Pahovich?
Here.
Mr. McNulty?
Here.
Mr. Bellis?
Here.
Mr. Pierce?
Here.
And Ms. Harris. We do have a quorum. Ms. Harris is currently not present.
Okay. Before we go through the rezoning applications, was there anything, Michelle, that you had?
I can just highlight, so we received the revised submittal on September 22nd, about a little less than a week ago, and well, let me take one step back. After the commission meeting on the 14th, Brett and I did formulate additional comments and feedback from the commission, and we had several that we passed along to the applicant. The applicant then addressed them in their revised submittal on September 22nd that we received and was distributed out. We then reviewed the revised submittal based on the comments, and we believe all of them were addressed except for 3, and the 3 that are provided are in the motions tonight drafted. And I mean, they're really minor things that were missed out. So the applicant's here, of course, if you have any additional questions. Thank you.
All right, thanks. All right, so we're here to discuss rezoning application ZON-21-05 Evans Farms Planned Commercial District, as well as ZON-21-06 Evans Farms Single Family Planned Residential, as well as approve meeting minutes tonight for June 9th and August 24th. I guess we can start, Tony, if you want to start with the response to the comments and go through those with us. All right. Oh,
just in case we need it. Good evening. My name is Tony Eierman. I'm with Evans Farmland Development Company, 1550 Lewis Center Road, Suite B. With me this evening is my partner Dan, same address, Dan Griffin, for the record, and also with us is Kevin Kirshner or Kinley Horn, our consulting engineer, if there are any questions that come up from that. As Michelle basically gave my entire presentation just a minute ago. Between the time at the last meeting we shared, passed on to staff red lines from the original approved zoning text and how it changed. Staff, to their credit, and they did a great job turning around a lot of work in a short time. Gave us a list of issues to address. We addressed them, met on the 21st, and went through them all and had no problems at all, except I guess I can't read or just actually it's computer issues more than anything. But the out of that 21st meeting, we made our corrections, submitted it on the 22nd, and there are 3 items, and we'll go through each of the 3 just to be specific, and we'll conclude our side of this. The item number 1 is the temporary realtor sign language to be included in the signage matrix. It's in the zoning text, back on page 35, I think it is. We'll bring it forward into the matrix as well. And what we'll do with all 3 of these is basically 1 and 3 is we'll work with staff to make sure the wording is exactly how they want it, so that there's no question that gets to the trustees. But we'll do that on item 1. Item 2 is the interesting signage language on page 13 is removed. I don't know if it was part of the presentation at the last meeting, but I realized a fair way through the last version that I was working in 2 files without realizing I was working in 2 files. I should have been working in 1. So I deleted the paragraph out of the version that I voided So that paragraph will be deleted as staff recommended last time. And then the third one is specifying rear lot setbacks for lots not serviced by alleys. In the matrix, we have the content, but obviously it's not clear enough that we can, that staff asked us to help clarify, so we'll work with staff to make sure that it reads more clearly so that there's no question at all.
And those are not changing since the original.
They're not changing.
Yeah.
Those were actually based off of a previous amendment that was approved a while ago. So it's just a matter of clarity is all it is. And we'll make sure to get the items 1 and 2, we'll work with staff to get it fixed. Item 2, we'll just delete completely and that'll fix it. So with that, we're here to answer any questions and we'll move from there.
I have a couple of questions. You know, in the layout where you showed us for your duplexes, you know, originally I thought they were just going to be, if I'm, you know, just facing this diagram here, I thought they were going to be to the left of that oval, but it looks like you're planning on maybe, is it peppering them all around?
No, what we're doing is we're allowing ourselves, because it's something we've not been approved for, so we don't really have an identified area yet. But it's going to be within that area, but it's all around basically the northeast, northwest, northeast, and south. Okay. Or west, east, direct east of the oval, but it's going to be clustered in one of those areas.
Okay, but it could be plain here and...
Could be, but we're going to be pretty sensitive on how it's organized, and architecturally they will be compatible, and they go through the exact same review and approval process with our town architect as our single family lots will be too.
Okay.
So this diagram that you've included in your development text is correct?
Yes.
That somewhere in this green dashed vicinity,
Right.
there will be 100 lots
Right.
for...
Up to 100
Up
lots,
to
yeah.
100 for duplexes?
Yeah.
Okay.
That leads me to a question I probably would have should have asked earlier. You have the development, that's all great. I trust you guys, I really do, I do know that. But how are your lots, are your lots sold to those individual developers who come in and says, I want to buy this lot or buy this group? Or
Builders.
The builders. I mean, the developers.
Basically, from, this is section 1 here and section 2 here. Those lots from section 1 and section 2 are sold.
Okay.
And north of that, there are a few that are in contract, but there are none that are sold at this point.
Have you typically sold groups to a single builder, like say a certain section or 2 sections, 3 sections, or?
No, we tend to mix it up a little bit. We have probably three or four builders, and it's very much like West Haven down in Franklin, Tennessee. We have 3 or 4 builders that tend to specialize in small lots. And we have 3 or 4 builders that tend to find their sweet spot in the middle-sized lots, basically from 55 or 60 up to 70, 75. Then we have a few more builders because they're a little bit more custom tailored that are into the larger lots.
Yeah, okay.
So if you were, and I'll just reiterate what you said. So like in this area, Bob Webb bought 18 lots from us.
That's the biggest single lot.
Great little, you know, so, I don't know if they call them duck, but it's just, but he designed some really cool empty nester type homes that fit well with it. So we went ahead and did that. You know, Three Pillars was talking to us about maybe a patio home product, and those we would do little areas like that with one builder. But most of these are all custom lots, so we get a different looking house on different lots.
So you approve everything that comes in. The builder comes and approaches you, you see this, you say, okay, you approve what the plans are. What's the way we do here when developers come in?
Yeah. We have a town architect, Dave Johnson is our current town architect, who we have our guidelines that I've shared and would share more if you want, but they review everything per that. And really in a very overly simplified description, there are certain architectural styles that are historically, have been identified through a number of years, through centuries, I guess would be a good way to say it. And so each of those architectural styles has certain design characteristics that are inherent to that style. So we look for those. Now, I don't want to build Williamsburg. That's not our goal. So we want some updates, we want some creativity, but we also have certain patterns that we want. And certain builders thrive in certain architectural styles. So but that's how we judge them, and then plus all the architectural standards that we have. And I was looking at some commercial property, commercial plans, the elevations today, and was critiquing the eaves of the buildings. And we get down to the eaves, and it's stuff that I never thought I would do. But
Well, it doesn't surprise me because I listened to you last time when you talked about the commercial and talked about the signage and where you wanted that to be. That's really some older styles that people aren't walking up to you today. And
Right.
So you're having, let's say here, to guide them in some of those directions. Does that same guidance probably occurring with those homes as
oh,
well?
absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. In
Yeah.
fact, it drives me crazy sometimes we guide them.
Yeah.
But, that's why we have great town architects that understand the different styles. Yeah.
Our first town architect, Mike Watkins, would, and Mike is a brilliant architect, but Mike had a problem that he would take your plans as a builder and he would take them and put a piece of tracing paper over it and redesign your entire house. And we're like, stop. I'm not paying you to design your house for them. Just reviewing it.
Yeah, just say yes or no.
Yeah.
Give them some ideas.
And David is probably our third town architect, and David's doing a really nice job. He still wants to get a little bit creative, and I still have to take his markers away sometimes. But at the same time, as a designer, whether you're an architect, you have one on either side of you here, or a landscape architect, you have to draw. I mean, you have to be creative. It's part of your design, your being. And so David, when he gets in there, he does it every once in a while. We let him go for a little bit. But yeah, we're very much reviewing and approving all the criteria, the architectural standards, which are in section 3 or section 4 in here, are kind of very general approach. The design criteria that we use are far more restrictive and far more tailored towards architectural criteria per architectural standard, the style. So, in fact, one of the things we're adopting in this text here is that the township doesn't issue zoning permits until we get a town architect's approval letter. And now you don't issue, and we're adding in there that you don't issue occupancy permits until the town architect comes in and says, yep, you've done everything you promised you were going to do.
Very good. I think
that's really great thing to add into the text.
I think that's absolutely awesome. Now when this is finished, your fingerprints will be to look through it and say, here, this is ours. All right. And I'm sure you've thought about the future and about all those things written out. How long can you maintain it? Can you maintain it for the next 50 years? After you guys are long and not only
maintain
Evans Farms to the level that you've built, to the level and the criteria of your town architects and everything that you've created here.
How long will the people maintain their homes?
And I guess that's the other point is that you never know what happens. Here's your whatever you call it zoning code, you call it whatever. Where's the zoning code, right?
Well, they have design guidelines, and
Design guidelines,
the design guidelines stay with the community.
Yeah.
And the HOA, once we sell, there's
It's all built out. Is that where you're going?
Yeah, exactly.
So once it's
All built out. Yeah.
And even if there's some smattering of lots still,
Right.
the HOA will have our guidelines, and you'll have neighbors making sure.
Yeah.
And the HOA won't approve.
Okay.
Or you
in
have
the
to
commercial side, the BOA.
Even if they do an addition, and that's part of our thing. They submit, additions, fences, everything to us, and so the HOA will run that and they'll make sure it
Yes,
stays.
so the design guidelines stay with the communities because of the HOA or the.
Terrific.
Including
OA, whatever you
cutting
wanna
grass and making sure things.
That's my fault, I was checking the details, see
No,
how far you guys have gone.
And because you have design guidelines, they maintain the architectural standards, not the zoning commission,
Yes,
which
yes.
is not our job.
No one's showing up here from Evans Farm at the DZA.
Yeah, like,
We have met, in this particular application here, this had the potential, if we didn't care and if we weren't diligent about it, this would have had the potential to blow up and all the residents in the community could have come after us. Yeah, anytime you change, whether it's good or bad, change causes reaction. But we've met with just about everybody in the every resident in the community.
they're
Except
excited.
here's
we
what we're
keep our
doing.
hands on it,
Yeah,
you know.
Yes.
Until they want to break one of them, then they complain about it, and then we go, sorry. Yeah, thank you for asking.
Thank you.
So say, for example, the HOA wants to change the design guidelines. Can that happen? How would that happen? I think that's what Dennis is getting
Yeah,
at.
kind of.
No, they can't once they're in, because they have to have 100% of the residents
Okay.
okay. And
Okay,
I can
there's
tell
no
you,
way you can get 100%.
there's no way you get 100%
Yeah,
anyway.
Mhm.
So,
Okay,
and if it was something that was seriously needed to be changed, then they wouldn't have any trouble getting all residents, okay, which, we've done in our trails. Yeah.
Perfect.
I do have one question on this map, regarding the duplex proximity plan. So, and maybe you guys kind of already answered this, but so later down the road, say there's some interest in the duplexes and you know you have a specific amount of people that for sure would buy them. Whatever, procedure dictates the location of where you start to build these. It's up to 100 lots, but say you build out the first 20 or 30 or however many, are you then going to reserve those lots around there for the potential of expansion of those if there's more interest later on, or how is that going to be handled? And the only reason I'm asking is just because I think Christine had alluded to this before, was what happens if you build out so many and you're still within that 100, under the 100, and then you get some other houses sprinkled in. Is it gonna then potentially split into separate sections or anything like that, or is it kind of just going to be isolated to one area?
yeah, I mean, I don't want the duplexes to be like measles
Now,
here and
yeah,
there.
And you couldn't do that, right? You couldn't sell a lot on a $700,000 home next to a duplex.
And that's my
So you
concern.
have to end up little areas when we get, when and if, right?
Yeah.
When and if we do it and find the market lends itself to it, we'll have to go in and pick a little area that is duplex there, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah. Okay.
And if it changes the area, they have to come back.
yeah, if we go outside that green area.
So right now, what you've shown us is just the general area,
Right,
even though that's more than 100 lots, that's,
Right.
probably 2.5 times the number. of lots,
Exactly.
yeah.
So you're just looking for somewhere, like 1/3 of this area might be duplexes.
Yeah.
And when we pitched it the first time when we presented it, we were talking about Como Street over off of High Street. And Como is everybody who's from that area, or who's familiar with that area, knows there are a number of duplexes down that street. However, mixed in there in the same architectural style and same scale and everything are single family as well. So it's all going to be relatively the same architectural styles to complement one another. So even if a duplex cluster is next to a single family, our goal is that you're really not going to be able to tell the difference unless you're counting front doors.
Mm-hmm.
And even over in Clintonville, which is where Como is, there are a number, and I'm not the architectural historian to know, but whatever that style is, there, in a number of instances, there are two front doors on a single family house, because one leads to the front of that front access, and the other is off of the living room or family room, and it's a double door that opens out on the front porch.
Mhm.
But, so yeah, we are clustering them. It's our intention. However, architecturally, they're still going to be very much compatible,
Yeah.
scale, style, everything.
Yeah, that's why I was slightly confused in my original question, because I thought when you originally gave us the proximity of location, they were all just in this area. But it looks like you kind of went around.
We came around the entire, basically this whole commercial.
Yeah, and that brown area,
That's
tan
all
area,
commercial.
is all commercial. So the duplex area is adjacent to the,
Yeah, and much as if you've been up to Evans Farm, if you haven't been there, please come, we'll give you the grand tour. When we planned that originally, the Lewis Center commercial area, maybe it's worked out as well as we can possibly have imagined, but we have townhomes that separate the commercial and apartments from the single family, and those townhomes make a great transition. Well, the duplexes around the oval commercial are going to make that same transition between the commercial multifamily and the single family. That was the intent, and that's part of the reason why we came around basically from 9 o'clock until 6, if you will, just as kind of it may be a thin band that goes all the way around it. We don't know at this point.
When you think of cluster, is there a minimum cluster? When you say you make cluster, is there a minimum in the cluster?
Not too few, not too many.
Yeah, that's right.
Just once the architecture and stuff, we really start looking at it. But you're right, you can't have too little of them, and you can't have too many of them, because it's a delicate balance that we've done throughout this process.
Yeah.
By the way, tomorrow night from 6 to 9, the VIA is having their Parade of Excellence party at Evans Farm, so if you guys want to come out then, you're welcome to come. It'll be a nice evening.
We'll have all our shoes polished.
They got good food, coming.
Did the HOA review the skeleton zip lining into that poor man's
Oh,
house?
I like that one.
Yeah.
Right next door to me.
Oh, yeah.
Back from DC, I looked up and in their eyes at nighttime they turn red.
Oh, they do?
Oh, yeah. I looked, Kathy and I pulled in and we're like, oh.
I looked at that on Saturday and Sunday, and I went, it's not a sign.
Oh, you'll see all, but he gets extravagant on Halloween.
It's a mural.
You'll see 'em
Have you
all.
seen his boarded
Yeah.
windows too?
Yeah.
We have a contest.
Oh, okay.
Front porch Halloween thing, so everybody this year will be, you'll see all kinds of.
Who manages the HOA right now?
We do,
You
really.
guys take care of
Yeah, we have town properties that sort of our manager, bookkeeper, but, frankly, we're the HOA.
Yeah.
I will say I do appreciate the visual, like this map you guys created, and then as well as some of these other things like the blade sign that you guys, because I think that helps us all.
Yeah.
And one, define it, and two, be able to see it visually for anybody that maybe have a hard time.
And the pages behind the proximity plan for the spreadsheet for the landscape, the street trees,
Yeah.
park trees, and then the lighting are past approved documents, but they needed to be included in there.
Yeah.
The fascinating thing to me was that the original zoning was approved in 2016, and Hall of Fame, who I think is the light provider back in 2016, doesn't make that light anymore.
Okay.
I'm like, it's a classic light, how could you not? But they make the one that's in there, which is on, they changed the numbers is what they did. And I suspect in 5 years or so, the quality of the light fixture and the lenses goes up. So that's why they changed it, I'm sure. But we like those lights. We've used those lights. We're getting ready to have more lights. as we continue to expand. So we're going to use those for the force until we come back and change them, which I don't see ever happening.
Okay.
But those needed to take the ride along with all the other text too.
Yeah.
Yes, I appreciate it. You take Tony and I are going to be here 50 years. We don't look at each other, but
No,
We'll probably be-
actually, I don't think you will.
We'll probably be candidates for that wire, you know. We're going to be skeletons up on the wire.
Yeah, I don't think really we have any issue if the light fixture is similar. I know we've had discussions in the past that the Kelvin range is very, so as long as, you know, the height, the style.
And I believe the Kelvin ranges are still in
It's
there.
still in there, I just
Yeah.
checked.
Yeah, no, it's,
we did way too many studies on those, with all those.
Yeah, that's been an issue in the township, in the past, and I think now it's becoming more, people are realizing that the really bright blues, are not
using
good.
Glen Parkway as the other extreme, the bright orange don't either.
Yeah, exactly, that there's certain colors that people do not respond to well.
If you've ever driven up Glen Parkway when it's rainy, the orange light, the high pressure sodium, I think it is blinding. You can't really see at all. So yeah, we worked our tails off to get that range, and I think Township really weighed in a lot on that too, if I remember right.
Exactly, so that's why, as long as it meets the guidelines.
Yep.
All right. Any other comments?
I just have, oh, go ahead, Les.
What was that?
Or Les, you can go first.
Refresh my memory on the, you're providing the township with, I guess, head of the team with your guidelines.
Oh, I do have that, yeah.
Okay, yeah. And I know you have the, you know, the, proprietary concerns of that.
We have provided a couple copies, digital files, if you will, to staff. If the zoning commission would like them individually, we'd be happy to give you a fresh set if you'd like.
No, I'm good. I just want to make
As
sure.
long as it exists.
That it exists, but also, and I may have asked this question last time, I don't know if you missed the call, but if a resident wanted to see those, I guess they'd come and ask you.
They could, yeah. Yeah.
But if they wanted to see them from here, I guess, I don't know if they consider published here enough, if you have a copy or not.
I mean, we would refer them to the development text that, that references the architectural guidelines, and, you know, they can contact Evans Farm directly for those.
We've met, a lot of our residents have asked, and honestly, all of our builders have them. So, and most of them are involved in the building process with the architects and the builders. So they all have them. And it's just, we've updated them once. And with new sections coming on, we'll have to update them again, because we have what they call, in the back part of the book, or the binder, is the regulating plan, which identifies where houses need to sit on the lot, and where the doors and the garage doors and access all. So even from a global scale, as they sit right now, phase 3, we have an idea of where all the garages are going to be located, and where the house will be located, and what side's the front, what side's the side on the corner lot. And it's important stuff like that. It doesn't seem real important yet, but if we're out ahead of it, it becomes a lot easier. It becomes a seamless issue at that point. So we'll be updating at least the regulated plan. I don't think there's much in the text that we need to really address right now, but it's always great fun to walk through Evans Farm with architects who know what they're doing. Even if they're not involved, they know what they're doing, because they have a vision, they have an insight. You know, if I walk through with Adam and with Christina, they have more awareness. They're far more familiar with that than we are. And just their input always adds just a different dimension, and so it becomes more rich, if you will, as it continues to grow. So phase, it sounds awful, and I would never say this to any, if you can turn the microphones off, that'd be great. But the people in phase one who live in phase one, the quality of the house, quality of their design is probably the least best of any of the phases as we go forward, because the quality of the design criteria just gets a little bit richer and a little bit better each time. Now, the phase one houses are awesome.
Yeah.
They really are.
And they were largely Pareto home houses, if
yeah.
I remember correctly.
But
which is
even
kinda-
so, there's, there's a richness that is gained as you keep growing into it. And I'm looking forward to seeing it as we keep going.
And I presume as you update those, I don't know if you necessarily as you update them, but maybe once a year or what have you, provide an updated copy.
We can, sure. I think the last update was in 19, so the one before that was 16, so it's every couple of years.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
All right, any other comments?
I don't know if it's a comment, or how, I was looking for reading some of the text, and there are still some typos. So I don't know how we generally address them. It's not like it's,
If you would pass them on to the staff, we'll make sure to get those as we make amendments.
I think we noticed a couple too,
Okay.
so I don't think it's real, and it doesn't change the content or the intent of the
what's going
text.
on, but just please make sure that the final
Yes.
copy doesn't have them, so if someone doesn't come back 10 years from now and try to reword
Yeah.
what was
Sure.
actually meant.
Yeah.
Depending on how in years past, we've always taken comments from the zoning commission, the conditions. We've incorporated them into the text, so I would love to get rid of that paragraph that I've got rid of in the wrong file. And clarify those other two items, and if you want to give staff the typos.
I mean, even if we just added a fourth condition saying review text for any typos, that'll at least.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine, just as long as you're aware that they're there.
I'm firing my typist, that's it.
Are you the typist?
That's it.
You had to be used word typist. That's an old.
I was like, spell check helps, but it doesn't always work.
No, you're right.
And autocorrect corrects all the things on my phone the wrong way.
So I never use autocorrect. Just because of that.
It'll get you in trouble.
Exactly.
Like your voice texting, you don't want to do it. Or send it without reading.
Yeah.
That's it.
I just want to note, just so you all are aware, and I'll give Brett and I a pat on the back, but we did go through page by page of the original text and compared it to the revised text to make sure all the standards that were in place from 2016 on are still in here today. So, with some of the changes that were discussed with the housing types, but aside from that, everything remains the same, and our staff is comfortable moving forward.
Okay, thank you.
I'll add one more thing that back in November of last year, the trustees brought this forward that we needed to amend this and make this more clear and more concise. And at that moment, they kind of looked at that trustees meeting. They looked at her, and I'm pointing to Michelle for the record. You can put that on the tape. Michelle has been fantastic. She's helped. I won't say she co-authored it because that wouldn't be fair to her, but the insight and the direction and certainly the input as we've gone through it has been tremendous. It wouldn't be as good of a book as it is without a lot of input and a lot of direction from Michelle and Brett too. Brett's been awesome.
Wow, thank you. Yeah.
You get it. That, she got it.
Wow, Brett did the hard work for sure. Thank you.
All right. Well, with that positive note, we will move for a recommendation. Let's start first with the Plain Commercial District. Can I get a motion to recommend approval for zoning application ZON-21-05 regarding Evans Farms PCD?
Moved by Mr. McNulty to recommend to the Board of Township Trustees the approval of zoning application ZON-21-05 of Evans Farm Land Development Company LLC, requesting the amendment of the currently effective development plan for Evans Farm Plant Commercial District, BCD, applications number 15-0104, ZON-16-02, ZON-18-05, and ZON-20-02. Further move that this recommendation is for amendment in accordance with the changes to the development text submitted by the applicant, the pages of which are stamped received at Orange Township zoning above, September 22nd, 2021, superimposed over received by Orange Township zoning. Further move that all portions of the previously approved application development plan of application 15-01-04, 1501-04 as modified by applications ZON-16-02, ZON-18-05, and ZON-20-02 supersede in its entirety and shall not continue in full force and effect.
I second.
Actually, Cheryl, let me,
Read the stipulation?
yeah, no, I can just go through those because I forgot to mention that. So the statement of stipulations, all of the following items are to be addressed prior to the trustees' consideration of this zoning application. The temporary realtor signage language to be included in the signage matrix. The interesting signage language on page 13 is removed, specifying rear lot setbacks for lots not serviced by alleys, and review text for any typos. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Thank you. Motion made by Mr. McNulty to recommend approval of zoning application number ZON-21-05 regarding Evans Farm Plain Commercial District with 4 stipulations. Second by Mr. Pierce. Those voting, Mr. Pahovich,
Yes.
Mr. McNulty,
Yes.
Ms. Trabellis,
Yes.
and Mr. Pierce.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, we'll move on to the single family. Can I get a motion to recommend approval for zoning application ZON-21-06 regarding Evans Farm SFPRD with the following statement of stipulations?
Who's reading?
Moved by Mr. Pierce to recommend to the Board of Township Trustees approval of zoning application number ZON-21-06 of Evans Farm Land Development Company LLC, requesting the amendment of the currently effective development plan for Evans Farm Single Family Plan Residential District, SRPRD, applications number 15-0105, ZON-17-07, ZON-19-03, and ZON-21-04. Further move that this recommendation is for the amendment in accordance with the changes to the development text submitted by the applicant, the pages of which are stamped received with Orange Township zoning above and September 22nd, 2021, superimposed over received by Orange Township zoning. Further move that all portions of the previously approved application and development plan of application number 15-0105 as modified by applications numbers ZON-17-07, ZON-19-03, and ZON-21-04 are superseded in its entirety and shall not continue in full force and effect.
Second.
And just for the record, the 4 stipulations are the same as the previous recommendation from application number ZON-21-05. So Mr. Pierce did move to recommend approval of zoning application number ZON-21-06 regarding Evans Farm Single Family Plan Residential District. That was seconded by Ms. Trabellis. Those voting, Mr. Pahovich,
Yes.
Mr. McNulty,
Yes.
Ms. Trabellis,
Yes.
and Mr. Pierce.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
And we'll be scheduling this at the trustee meeting on Monday.
And do we want to, how do we want to go about amending, getting these conditions?
I'll follow up with you to confirm the meeting date and then just a week before that. Thanks. And then I'll make sure I get those right typos from Christine.
I don't have that many. You probably already caught them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next item on the agenda is the review of the June 9th, 2020 Turkey Hill signage meeting minutes.
Yes. We apologize. That one was an oversight since that's been well over a year ago, but we are ready to approve those. I do have a couple comments on that, if you don't mind.
Yep.
So on page 1, on page 1, line 30 is correct. You recall, or if you recall. Page 5, line 225, correct. Believer so to believe so. Page 8, line 389, Ms. Trabellis' name is spelled incorrectly. We'll fix that. Page 9, line 406, correct. King to looking. That's what we had.
Okay, I had a few. On line 194, I think it ends with evaluated. Is this still being evaluated? On line 364, on the end there, says the previous on. I think that is previously on.
Okay.
Line 406. It says one thing on the signage, King. It should say looking at the new signage, not King. Line 408. The only sign that we personally, not me personally, I think is what I was saying there. And I think the last one I had was line 442. It sounds like there's still some things that need worked out, not something that need worked out.
Got it.
That's it.
All right, I have one, and it's between lines 420 and 427. It references the big lance. It's not a lance, it's a sconce. It's a gooseneck sconce. It's a type of light. Not a jousting implement. What?
Hey, good catch.
I was reading it up like, what is that? What is a lance? I was like, no, it's a sconce, the gooseneck sconce. It's a type of lighting fixture, downlights on signage.
You got it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I can handle the little typos. That was a little too much.
All right, any other comments? All right. If not, I recommend approval of the June 9th, 2020 ZON-19-02 Turkey Hill signage meeting minutes as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. McNulty to approve zoning commission minutes from June 9, 2020. Second by Ms. Trabellis. Those voting, Mr. Pahovich?
Yes.
Mr. McNulty?
Yes.
Ms. Trabellis?
Yes.
And Mr. Pierce?
Thank you.
All right, next we'll be moving on to the meeting minutes for August 24th, 2021 for the Evans Farm zoning amendments, meeting minutes. Any comments?
I had a couple. Tony Ironman, his last name was spelled incorrectly in a couple lines, and we'll address that. On page 8, line 372, Craftsman was spelled wrong. And then we also noticed Ms. Trabellis' name was spelled incorrectly. Again, we'll fix that.
All right, I had a couple here. On line 480, I believe that should read, do you want to go through the commercial, not through commercial? And I think I only have one more. On line 587, I went through them briefly, not brief. And that's it for me.
I have none. Thank you for correcting my name.
Okay. Can I get a recommendation for approval of the August 24th, 2021 ZON-21-05 and ZON-21-06 Evans Farm zoning amendments, meeting minutes as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Trabellis to approve zoning commission minutes from August 24th, 2021, second by Mr. McNulty. Those voting, Mr. Pahovich?
Yes.
Mr. McNulty?
Yes.
Ms. Trabellis?
Yes.
And Mr. Pierce?
Yeah.
Before we end, I do have one thing to share since both Adam and Christine were out the last meeting, but we did talk about the minutes on how we're going to attempt to handle them moving forward. So we will be trying to do a journal entry form similar to the trustees. We're going to test that with the organizational meeting we had last week and come to you. But according to our legal counsel, we really don't have to do word for word, as we would have the audio as our official record of the minutes. So it just takes a lot of staff time, to be honest. And we're just trying to simplify it and make sure we capture all the key points. So that's all.
I have a question. Does the same apply to the BZA, or is it just the zoning commission minute?
BZA, we do have to have minute for minute because it's a judicial setting. So we still
That's why I asked.
Yes, this is only for zoning commission.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I think that's it. Meeting adjourned.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Will the trustees use this?
Exactly why I asked.